Hey friends, welcome to Tikkunei Tanya episode 3. As mentioned previously, we are not going to be going through this in a linear fashion. We are totally hyperdimensional here because the Mochen, which is what the Tanya is bringing us to the brink and into the first stages of accessing the Mochen. The Mochen is hyperdimensional. The Mochen is not linear. Our brain, Mochen meaning the brain, the mind. So we're going with it. And today's lesson I anticipate to be a lot shorter than the last two, because what I just want to focus on today are defining some key terms in Tanya on a higher level, mapping them out into out of our initial human experience, kind of in plugging it back into the greater map of reality. These points have all been brought out and fleshed out by Yerahari, so I'm just going to give a blanket statement that these teachings, even if they originated in other Sfarim, were given over to me by Yerahari. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Okay. So the main thing that I want to focus on today is the definition of Tzaddik, Rasha, Benoni, the five essentially states of spiritual existence or spiritual level or kind of spiritual address that spelled out in Tanya in Perek Aleph when we are beginning to talk about these levels that we are trying to reach and bring down. And we have the gift now of understanding them, of zooming in hyperdimensionally and understanding them in more nuanced ways. So some of this might be more conceptual than you're used to, as opposed to like behavioral driven or like immediately useful to your day-to-day human psychology. It's important to just let yourself receive it, because higher aspects of you already know this. If you're watching this video, it's because these higher aspects of you kind of want this knowledge and these frequencies to start penetrating your day-to-day consciousness in order to start shifting how you perceive reality, how you process reality, and how you show up here. So what we want to understand here is the concept first of the tzaddik. So a tzaddik, on the technical level, is somebody who is embodying, who has downloaded the part of their soul, either received an ibor or actually accessed their own soul root in the yesod of Beriah, of the world of Beriah, which is dominated by the level of neshama, by bina, by that divine intellect. And why the yesod? Because yesod is the conduit between the higher lights and then the malchus, the nukva, the actualization of these things. So our job here is to embody and become this conduit from the highest levels down to actual manifestation of seeing and experiencing these principles, the divine objective principles, the actual structure of reality, the godly structure of reality, the spheros, the letters, as they are a living process, constantly playing out. We had the blessing of having Chabad Chassidus revealed to us for the past 200 and coming up on like 300 years. I can't remember the exact dates at this moment. Forgive me, I'm exhausted. Which has been changing the frequencies of what we can actually contain in our human minds and bodies and our day-to-day life and practice. But that Chabad Chassidus was just priming us to now receive the higher lights of processing reality through these constructs, which is the Mother's Torah, the Torah Beriah, and ultimately the Torah of Atzilus, which is the light of life, the light of true life. So the concept of the tzaddik, right? Because we, like, colloquially, we understand this as like, okay, somebody who has, completely transformed the Yetzer Hara into the Yetzer Tov. Well, not completely, but, for the most part. And even that is just, it's so much more subtle and nuanced than what we've understood. But technically, in reality, it's somebody who has downloaded into their operating system, their nervous system, their body, the part of their soul that is in Yesod of Beriah. They are now dominated by neshama, right? They're dominated by the godly intellect, and they are in the center column. In the straight line, they are Yisrael, they are Yashar El, right? Center column, straight to God, at the level of neshama, of Beriah, of higher intellect. There has been a transcendence, a cleansing and transformation of the lower 7 midos, or also called the tzirim, or the forms, and that they are rooted there now. Their actual being in this world is now rooted there, okay? Now, the concept of the Rasha. Rasha is spelled Resh Shin Ayin, and this actually, this can stand for Rabbeinu Shel Olam. The state of being a Rasha is somebody who is in a state of trying to be a Rabbeinu Shel Olam, seeking power and control over reality, needing to dominate and project and control reality based on their own deep-seated stories, internal definitions, their own understandings through their own filters. And you know, this can even be their own deep religious understandings that they're not willing to let go of, that, you know, not willing to evolve, not willing to have the bittul of cleansing themselves and downloading a higher understanding, a purer understanding, a purer knowing of God and what all of this means. So the state of one who is a Rasha is one who is really locked in. No matter how strong the intellect seems to be, the intellect is still completely filtered through their own stuff, right? There's been no unpacking, there's been no cleansing, there's been no encounter with objective reality. It's their own stuff. So the state of being a Rasha is the state of being a Rabbeinu Shel Olam, seeking power and control over reality, no matter how subtle this is. And getting into this space of surrender, which so many of us are doing in, again, this tikkun that we call a healing journey, it gets us into a space of surrender where we can actually start to say, like, yeah, no, I don't know. I know nothing. I need to clear myself out and become a vessel for these higher mysteries and to, you know, exist from this place. Okay. So now we're going to go from the top down. Again, we're just going to be quickly mapping out these terms, and then I'm going to give you another definition for the word ra, or evil, and then we're going to wrap up for this lesson. So the tzaddik gamor, or the complete tzaddik that is spoken in Tanya, refers to the level of Adam Kadmon. So this is Keter. Adam Kadmon is at the level of Keter, and this is reality and every aspect of reality in its ultimate divine perfected form as perceived in the primordial thought of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. That's what we've all been making our way home to through all of these Gilgulim, is the level of Adam Kadmon. That is the level of the Tzaddik Gamor. The Tzaddik She'eno Gamor, now this refers to Atzilus, which is dominated by Chachma. It's dominated by Chachma, which is high, sublime light. It's Chachma, it's described later as a window for the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu to come in, and all of those initial primordial, holy beyond holy constructs that exist there in that primordial light. And so that light shines in, but it's still not complete. It's not the completion of Adam Kadmon. Then we have the Rasha V'Tovlo. This refers to the world of Beriah. This refers to Bina, Neshama. This is where Machlokes begins in Beriah. In the world of Beriah, there's more Klipa there, there's more contraction there, there's more room for disunity. So this is where Machlokes begins in the world of Beriah. So this is where we have the Rasha V'Tovlo. The Rasha V'Ralo is Asiya, the world of Asiya, which is, you know, pure physicality, pure action. It's the level of nefesh alone, which is the most external level of soul, meaning not grasping the internalities of things until it's connected to the higher levels and rectified. And then we have the Benoni, which is the focus of the Tanya, who it's explicitly addressed to. It's also called Sefer Shel Beinonim. And the Benoni refers to the level of Yetzira, which is dominated by those 7 midos, by those 7 forms, which are collectively also called the Nefesh HaBahamis, which we're going to be talking about a lot through the Tanya, because the Benoni's struggle really exists here at this level of Yetzira, which is dominated by these inyanim, the concepts of Tov Ra. Yetzira is the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, essentially, from many perspectives. We have the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov, and this struggle between the Tov and the Ra. And the real secret is that we need to get to the center column and integrate and ultimately transcend the concepts of Ra, but also Tov. And so that's primarily where this concept of the Benoni exists, is in Yetzira, and the struggle to plug back into that place of the Yesod of Bina, to start to plug back into that supernal intellect. But that's ultimately for the purpose of then receiving the lights from Atzilus, which is where the level of Chaya, the level of life, the level of that true life, that higher soul, being rooted there. Because the secret is that the neshama itself, Bina itself, without enough bittul to the light of Chachma, to the light of Atzilus, and what's shining there, this is the neshama itself. It's considered to be in a state of Ra, in a state of lack of bittul, of disconnection from the higher light. Okay, and if we're gonna go also explain what Ra is according to the secrets of the letters as revealed by Yohari. Resh refers to our forms, the lower 7 midos, right? Or again, collectively, the nefesh habahamis. And ayin, this is how we spell Ra. This refers to the eyes processing the covering of light over all of these things, which is reality as we perceive it. So when we're in a state of Ra, we're misaligned from actual reality. The etymological meaning of Ra is basically shaky or misaligned, right? We're not in the center column anymore. We've leaned left or right. We've shaken left or right. Tov or Ra. Center column, holiness. We don't want good or evil. We want center column, holiness, just straight divinity in all things, right? And both the Tov and the Ra can be sweetened into godliness. But only when we're center column, Yashar El. But this also tells us the state of Ra is when our forms, which is our stories, all of our stories and the accumulated sum of experiences, as Yira calls it, all of our stories, all of our filters, all of our programs, that happens when we're in just a state of mindlessness. We're not thinking critically. We're not challenging ourselves to be really freaking uncomfortable, to have those existential crises that we need to reprogram ourselves. When the forms are preceding and dominating over our eyes, our perception. This is when we're in a state of Ra, when we are completely in subjective reality, the reality of opinions, the realities of the machlokas, our human stuff, our human stories, our worries, our opinions and judgments, are preceding our ability to perceive objective reality. And what is objective reality? What's the objective structure of reality when we're interacting directly with God? When we're deeply internalizing the concepts of the spheres and their complexities. We've learned a very, very, very simplistic version of what they are, which we're all going to have to purge to really step into the complexities of what each sphere is and what they do, how they interact between the worlds, the names of God, the letters. So when we start to dip our, I don't want to say our toes, but our toes into that, and hopefully our brains into that, we do start to process very differently, and there's a massive purification of consciousness that happens, and you're able to come to a place moment by moment of standing in a state of awe and reverence. And the Alter Rebbe speaks in the Tanya about how the state of Yira Ilah is the highest state to exist within, which is the state of upper awe and reverence, of perceiving the objective reality of God. And this has nothing to do with my emotions. This has nothing to do with my likes, dislikes, or preferences. This has everything to do with like, oh my God, I had this moment of like, I get it. I get how those letters are creating this experience. It's spoken a lot. In Chassidus, there's a lot of mention of the fact that in the Geula state, we see how the letters are creating reality. And a lot of people don't like this because they're like, oh my God, does that mean I'm just going to sit around seeing like a resh there and a shin there? Like that sounds boring AF. And like that does sound boring AF, kind of is boring AF. The letters are vessels for energy. They're carriers of energy and elemental principles that the Ein Sof Baruch Hu uses to generate and manifest reality at all times. But there are such deep secrets encoded in it, the ways that the letters combine to create this interface that we're in. And as simplistic as it can seem, or as unexciting to our human stuff as it can seem, it is the gateway. It is the key in the lock to accessing the next level of higher consciousness, of becoming purified and expanded into the next level of yourself, truly into the level of neshama, with that into Chaya and into Ak, and ultimately, God willing, into the state of Tzaddik Gamor, which is that state of Ak. But we have to start to interpret Torah and reality now from a much more objective place, from a much more mature place, from a place where it's not about every moment of my life being dictated by an external opinion, but about me being deeply in a flow with objective reality. Straight up the center column, Ashar Al. Okay, have a great one. Can't wait for the next lesson.